What if I told you that history, as you know it, isn't real? That the solid, unshakable past you learned in school and read in books is, in fact, a colossal fabrication? What if I told you that time itself was deliberately manipulated by someone? That 297 years were stolen from our calendars? And that we are, right now, actually living in the 1700s? Tonight, on the Voidcast, we delve into a theory that shakes the very foundations of reality. Tonight, we will speak of the phantom time hypothesis and the greatest conspiracy in history. Welcome back to the Voidcast, where we listen to the whispers from the void. Turn off the lights, lean back, and forget the noise of the outside world. Because in a moment, we will embark on a journey through the very fabric of time. A journey that may end with you doubting everything you know. Our topic is a shocking claim first proposed in the 1990s by the German historian and publisher Heribert Illig, the phantom time hypothesis. In its simplest form, the theory states this: the nearly 3-century period between the years 614 and 911 AD never happened. It was entirely fabricated. A complete void, filled in with a carefully written script by talented forgers. But why? Why would someone want to erase or add a full 300 years to history? Who could possibly organize a conspiracy of this magnitude, and for what purpose? According to Illig, at the center of this conspiracy are 3 powerful figures: the Holy Roman Emperor Otto III, Pope Sylvester II, and the Byzantine Emperor Constantine VII. The story goes like this. Otto III, a young and ambitious emperor, wanted to reign in a very special year, the year 1000 AD, the millennium. This date held a mystical significance for Christianity. It was seen as the potential year of the second coming, of judgment, of the apocalypse. Otto wanted to place himself at the center of this prophecy, to write his name into history as the Emperor of the Millennium. There was just one small problem. According to the calendar at the time, the year wasn't quite 1000 yet. The calendars had fallen behind due to small errors that had accumulated over centuries. To solve this problem, Otto and his allies concocted a plan far more audacious than a simple correction. The plan was this: to wind the calendar forward. But in doing so, they had to fill the resulting gap with events and personalities that would legitimize and enhance their own power. In short, to rewrite history. And as the greatest hero of this rewritten history, they would invent a figure to serve as the founder of the Holy Roman Empire itself, Charlemagne. This might sound like the plot of a Hollywood movie, but Heribert Illig and the theory's defenders present several pieces of evidence they claim support their assertions. Let us now look more closely at this evidence, at these cracks in reality. Proof 1. The gap in the calendar. It all begins with a simple mathematical error. The Julian calendar, which was in use at the time, calculated each year as being about 11 minutes longer than the actual solar year. This tiny difference accumulated over the centuries, leading to a significant drift. In the year 1582, Pope Gregory XIII corrected this error by deleting 10 days from the calendar, creating the Gregorian calendar we use today. Here is the theory's key point. According to Illig, the accumulated drift by that date should have actually been 13 days. This 3-day difference corresponds exactly to the 300 years he claims were fabricated. It's as if those 300 years never existed, and therefore never created their share of the drift. Proof 2. The archaeological void. According to the theory, there is a surprising scarcity of archaeological finds in Europe. especially in the lands of the Holy Roman Empire, that can be dated to the period between 614 and 911. Even in continuously inhabited cities like Istanbul, the layers of earth corresponding to this era are either suspiciously thin or mixed with other periods. It's as if, for 3 centuries, people simply stopped building, stopped creating art, perhaps even stopped living. A kind of dark silence. Illig asks, could this archaeological void be a reflection of a historical void? Proof 3. The architectural leap. Illig argues that there is a massive technological and aesthetic leap between the architecture of the 5th and 6th centuries and the architecture of the 10th century. The Romanesque style, which suddenly appears in the 10th century, is incredibly complex and advanced for its time. According to the theory, this style only seems to appear suddenly because the intervening 300 years were skipped. It's as if architects experienced 300 years of evolution overnight. And proof 4, the legendary hero, Charlemagne. This is perhaps the theory's most jarring claim. What if Charlemagne, the father of Western Europe, that great emperor, never actually existed? According to Illig, Charlemagne was the greatest product of Otto's conspiracy. He was a fabricated character, created to give Otto a legendary ancestor to draw inspiration and legitimacy from. The achievements, laws, and conquests attributed to Charlemagne were, in fact, the accomplishments of various leaders from different times, all consolidated into a single mythical figure. He was the perfect phantom, created to fill the void of history. So, what do mainstream historians and scientists have to say about all this? As you might expect, they overwhelmingly reject the phantom time hypothesis, and they have very solid reasons for doing so. The biggest counter-argument is the rest of the world. The conspiracy is entirely Eurocentric. During that same period, the Tang dynasty in China, the rising Islamic civilization, and the Byzantine Empire itself were all keeping their own detailed records. And all of these records tell a continuous history that aligns with the European calendar, making a 300-year gap impossible. Observations of astronomical events, like Halley's Comet, correspond to the same years in the records of different civilizations. Furthermore, scientific methods like carbon-14 dating and dendrochronology, the science of dating based on tree rings, confirm the age of artifacts and remains from this alleged phantom period. This scientific evidence directly contradicts Illig's theory. So who should we believe? The history books, or the dissenting voices who whisper that history itself might be a massive conspiracy? Perhaps the phantom time hypothesis is merely the intellectual exercise of a clever man. Perhaps it is all just a series of coincidences and misinterpretations. But what if it isn't? What if those 297 years truly are a phantom, hidden in the mists of history for the sake of an emperor's ambition? If so, what year is it really? And how much more of the history we've been told is merely an illusion? Whatever the truth may be, one thing is certain. Time may not be the solid, reliable ground we believe it to be. Sometimes, even in the most unshakable realities, there are voids waiting to be questioned. Thank you for listening to the Whispers from the Void. If you too have found yourself lost in thought in these dark corridors of time, share your thoughts in the comments below. Don't forget to subscribe to the Voidcast and turn on notifications so you don't miss our next journey. Now, close your eyes, listen to the rain, and ask yourself, what does time truly mean to you? Have you ever walked through a city, your own or one far from home, and stopped to look up at an old, magnificent building. One of those grand, ornate structures with towering columns, impossible domes, and intricate stonework. Have you ever wondered, truly wondered, how they built it? The official story tells us it was done with horses, pulleys, and brute force. But what if that story is a lie? What if that building isn't just a piece of local history, but a remnant, an echo of a lost global empire? Welcome back to the Voidcast. Tonight, we don't just question a few missing years. We question the very foundations of our cities and the entire history of the world as we know it. Tonight, we search for the ghosts of the Tartarian Empire. This is a theory born not in old books, but in the digital corners of our modern world, pieced together by those who look at the past and see inconsistencies. It begins with old maps from before the 19th century, which show a vast territory covering much of Asia, labeled Tartary, or the Grand Tartarian Empire. History tells us this was just a general term for a region inhabited by various nomadic tribes. But the theory asks a far grander question. What if Tartary wasn't just a region, but a unified worldwide civilization? A civilization of incredible beauty and technological prowess. Proponents of this theory paint a picture of a global empire living in harmony, its citizens housed in breathtaking structures designed to resonate with the frequencies of the Earth itself. They speak of advanced technology, not of circuits and screens, but of harnessing atmospheric energy. Free, clean power drawn from the ether, collected by the ornate spires and domes that still grace our skylines today. This wasn't an empire of conquest, they say, but one of enlightenment and art. The most compelling evidence, they claim, is all around us, hidden in plain sight. It is the architecture. From the city halls of North America to the opera houses of Europe, from the government buildings of Australia to the museums of Russia, we see a strikingly similar style. Grandiose, majestic, and seemingly far too advanced for the era in which it was supposedly built. How did different cultures, separated by vast oceans and speaking different languages, all decide to build in the same ornate style at roughly the same time? How did they quarry and transport such massive stones and craft them with such precision using only rudimentary tools? Why are the doors and windows on these buildings often so colossal, as if built for giants? The theory proposes a single unifying answer. They weren't built by our recent ancestors. They are the last surviving relics of Tartaria. So, if this magnificent empire existed, where did it go? Why is there no mention of it in our history books? The answer, according to the theory, is as dramatic as the empire itself. A great cataclysm. A global event, often referred to as the Mud Flood. Proponents ask you to look at old photographs from the 1800s. You will see cities half buried in dirt, with people standing on mounds of earth that reach up to the second or third stories of these grand buildings. Look at those buildings today. You'll see windows at street level that lead to nowhere, elaborate doorways that are half buried underground. We are told these are basements or cellars. But the theory asks, what if they aren't basements? What if what we call the ground floor is actually the second, third, or even fourth floor of a much taller structure? Its true foundations buried deep beneath layers of dried mud. The theory suggests a cataclysm of unknown origin, a comet, a pole shift, a weapon of immense power, unleashed a torrent of mud that buried the world, ending the Tartarian age in a single devastating blow. And what of the survivors? The story here turns even darker. The theory points to the orphan trains of the 19th and early 20th centuries, which transported hundreds of thousands of children across countries. Were these children truly orphans in the traditional sense? Or were they the children of Tartaria, their parents lost in the cataclysm, rounded up by the new powers of the world to be re-educated, indoctrinated, their memories of the past world wiped clean? It was the final act of the conspiracy, not just to bury their cities, but to bury their memory, a great historical reset. Of course, mainstream history offers explanations for all of this. Tartary was a geographic term, not an empire. The architectural style is known as Beaux-Arts, or Neoclassicism, a popular movement that spread globally through cultural exchange. The mud flood evidence is simply the result of cities raising their street levels over decades for sanitation and infrastructure, or the natural construction of cellars and basements. The orphan trains were a real, though often tragic, chapter of social history dealing with poverty and immigration. But the questions linger: the scale of the architecture, the similarities across continents, the strange buried levels of our cities. So the next time you walk down a familiar street, look up. Look at the tops of the oldest, grandest buildings. Notice the intricate details, the impossible scale. Don't just see a building. See a question mark carved in stone. Ask yourself what secrets might be held within its walls, what history might be buried, not in books, but just a few meters beneath your feet. Thank you for listening to the Whispers from the Void. If you've ever felt that the world around you is older and more mysterious than you've been led to believe, share your thoughts in the comments. Subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss our next descent into the unknown. Now close your eyes, picture your city, and wonder, what else have you not been told? Look up at the night sky. If you can escape the glare of the city, you will see an ocean of infinite possibilities. Billions of stars in our galaxy alone. Billions of galaxies in the observable universe. For all of human history, we have stared into that darkness and asked one profound, unifying question. Are we alone? The mathematics of it all, the sheer probability, suggests we shouldn't be. The universe is ancient. There has been more than enough time for life to emerge, evolve, and spread across the stars. Our galaxy should be teeming with civilizations, a vibrant network of signals and starships. And yet, when we listen, all we hear is silence. A deep, profound, and unsettling silence. This contradiction is known as the Fermi paradox. Where is everybody? Welcome back to the Voidcast. Tonight, our conspiracy isn't one of hidden history or buried empires. It's a conspiracy of the present moment, one that unfolds on a cosmic scale. A theory that suggests the silence in the cosmos is not empty, but intentional. It proposes an answer to the Fermi paradox that is both fascinating and terrifying. We are not being ignored because no one is out there. We are being ignored because they are all out there. This is the zoo hypothesis. Imagine a vast, undiscovered rainforest on Earth. Within it, a previously unknown tribe lives, untouched by modern civilization. If we, as outside observers, found them, what would be the ethical thing to do? Would we rush in with our technology, our culture, our diseases, and risk destroying their way of life forever? Or would we establish a perimeter, a natural preserve, and observe them from a distance, allowing them to develop naturally, without our interference? The zoo hypothesis suggests that this is precisely our situation in the galaxy. The universe is home to ancient, hyper-advanced civilizations who have long since passed the turbulent phase of their development. They form a kind of galactic club, and they are aware of us. They see us, a young, chaotic, but promising species on a small blue planet. And they have made a collective decision to leave us alone. In this scenario, Earth is a protected exhibit, a cosmic zoo. They might be studying us, documenting our art, our wars, our struggles for meaning. They might be enforcing a strict, galaxy-wide policy of non-interference, a prime directive to prevent the contamination of our fragile culture. The silence we perceive is not emptiness. It is the soundproof glass of our enclosure. We are not alone. We are simply specimens. Precious, perhaps, but ultimately kept apart from the true galactic society. But there is a darker interpretation of the silence, a much more unsettling possibility. What if the quarantine isn't for our protection, but for theirs? This is the interdict hypothesis, or the cosmic quarantine. It posits that the advanced civilizations of the galaxy look at humanity and see not a promising species, but a threat. They see a history defined by relentless warfare, tribalism, and a frightening capacity for self-destruction. They see a species that poisons its own planet and builds weapons capable of wiping itself out. What would a billion-year-old, peaceful federation make of us? They might classify us as a dangerously unstable organism, a contagion. And so, they enforce a quarantine. The silence isn't the wall of a zoo, it's the wall of a prison. Our solar system isn't a nature preserve, it is a do-not-enter zone. In this scenario, we are not being studied with academic curiosity. We are being contained. The profound quiet of space is a warning, a galactic barrier designed to keep the rest of the universe safe from the violent, unpredictable apes on the third planet. The evidence for both theories is the same: the great, eerie silence. UFO sightings, if they are real, could be interpreted as careless zookeepers getting too close to the enclosure, or as probes sent to monitor the status of the quarantine, to see if the inmates are close to breaking out. Think of what this means. We are staring at the heavens, hoping for a sign, a message of friendship. We send out our own signals, broadcasting our existence to the stars, like a child shouting into a forest. In the zoo scenario, our shouts are met with a knowing, paternal silence. In the quarantine scenario, they are met with a fearful, cautionary one. One theory suggests we are children in a cosmic nursery. The other suggests we are inmates in a planetary asylum. Both paint a picture of humanity that is far from the center of the universe, a species either too young or too dangerous to be allowed to join the conversation of the cosmos. So the next time you look at the stars, don't just ask, "Is anyone out there?" Ask a different question. Why are they hiding? Is it to protect us from them, or to protect them from us? Thank you for listening to the Whispers from the Void. The nature of our cosmic solitude may be the greatest mystery of all. Share your own theories in the comments below. Subscribe to the Voidcast and turn on notifications as we continue to search for answers in the darkness. Now, close your eyes. Feel the vastness of the space around you and listen to the silence.